Hi Pisces, welcome to your June reading. Alright, you are the last reading. Mercury has stationed direct, and tomorrow Saturn will go retrograde, and it will be retrograde until October. We'll talk more about that in your mid-month snapshot on Patreon, and then I'll be putting up the July videos early on Patreon as well. So first up we have that Queen of Cups, and then we have the Two of Cups. Both wonderful cards, the bottom of the deck here being the Season. All right, let's talk about these two before we go any further. So this Queen of Cups here is perfect in terms of what's going on with your astrology, and that is that there's a lot of healing, but it has to do, it's encompassing. It encompasses everything in your life, and it starts with the basics, which for you is family, but for everyone. There is a healing, and it begins after the 14th, but the run-up to the 14th has to do with things being exacerbated so they can be healed. So over the past few days, you may have noticed some things that you really didn't want to see. That trend will continue, for better or for worse. That is Gemini season. We are often reviled for saying things how they are, but we're usually keeping it pretty light, actually, because it's usually a lot worse than what we're saying. We're trying to keep people from, losing it. So it's often, there's a lot of euphemizing, there's euphemisms, because we don't want to scare people with the truth that we know. And so in the same fashion, in the same spirit, you may find that you're privy to truths that you don't really want to know. And you're not, you're not appreciating this insight into people. It's a little too close, and it makes you feel out of sorts, kind of how I feel about this camera right now. Like you can't seem to level out, because every time you look around, you're seeing more of something that you don't want to see in the first place. So Gemini season is fantastic in that it gives you a lot to work with and a lot of data to crunch, but it's also a really chaotic, mutable energy, and you're already chaotic, mutable, and it all comes together, and yeah, the family issues just can't help but come up. So one of the ways that this can manifest itself is if you've just started your own family, or if you've just gotten married, or you've just taken that plunge somehow, right? Without realizing it, you start to change. One of the ways that I can put this in perspective is, I didn't realize how much of my parents would jump out of me when I had a baby. I didn't realize that I was really much like them at all. But soon after I had a child, by the grace of God, I realized that both my ex-husband and I started behaving a lot more like our respective parents without consciously thinking about it, realizing it, wanting to do it. And it makes sense because you have a certain template for what it means to be a parent, and you've most probably gained that from the person that you were parented by, whomever that was. And unknowingly, even if you've been striving to be nothing like them, unknowingly there are things that are just like them. Okay, so when I say that things are exacerbated, so these family issues, these family wounds can come up and be healed, it's serious. It's about your identity within a couple. It's your identity as a partner, a husband, a wife, or romantic partner. It's what's your identity if you just become a parent? What's your identity if you've just moved in with someone? What's your identity now if you've had to leave someone? There is a readjustment period, let's call it that. But it's not just you getting your bearings. It's much, much deeper than that. It's about healing. And it's about healing things that they're going to be chaotic when they're first brought up. And they will first come up in some sort of conversation with someone that you love and that you trust. So it's not, too harsh. But speaking of harsh, you have to remember what's going on in Aries right now. And it's especially important for you because it also affects what's going on for you financially, especially if you are a Pisces rising. Now, one of the things that comes out of this seems like compulsion to take care of family woundings and get, all the old hurt out of the way. One of the things that comes out of this is an extreme sense of comfort. I say this as I'm wrapping myself in a blanket and continuing to do so until it wraps around me the way I would like it to wrap around me. Damn it. Sorry about that. There is a level of comfort that you find in having dealt with these family issues that didn't exist before. And once you have faced these things and talked about them and had some closure about them, you will yourself be surprised at how much stress you had been carrying without knowing it. We get used to stress. We get used to things that are terrible. And then we think that we're not feeling them. We're feeling them, but it's just being done. It's so sublimated that you don't consciously feel the drain. But as soon as the drain is taken away, as soon as that worry is taken away, as soon as that healing has happened, then you feel the lack of the drain and you're like, wow, that was really messing me up. Well, yeah. Yeah, of course it was. Right? But it's really hard to know that when you're in the midst of it and the issue that's draining you is perhaps so old, something that's been, that you've been carrying since you were young. So you don't even know what it feels like to not have that on your back. But you will feel the marked difference when you don't, right? The freedom you feel, the lightness you feel. It's just time to get comfortable. It's time to get comfortable and to get so comfortable, in fact, that you lean into it for more than, a few days. For you, the rest of June, which is all of June, and the rest of Cancer season, the end of June, is all about rest. You have done a lot. You are thinking about a lot. The emotions you're dealing with right now and the healing that will happen from these very personal, very touchy subjects that's going on requires a lot of energy. It's very draining. Okay, and the last thing you want to do is get so drained that your cup is empty. Because although all this great stuff is happening and you can really do a lot of healing, no one is around to pour into your cup right now. The only person taking care of you right now is you. And some of you are thinking, well, what's new? Okay, but when I tell you there's nobody pouring into your cup except you, I mean nobody. So it is up to you then how you ration this energy. Okay, all the stuff that you want to do is great, but it cannot be at the expense of yourself and of your health. Now, these woundings, especially the ones that have to do with family and security and upbringing, what they're hiding behind them is the key to you attracting great enormous amounts of abundance. And June shows you exactly what's keeping you from that. The fear of being betrayed, the fear of failing, the fear of someone hurting your heart. In this case, yourself. What if I disappoint me? What if I can't do this? The comfort that you need at this time, it's not just emotion, it's not just emotional comfort in terms of like fixing family issues. It's not just financial comfort in terms of wanting, a stable future. It's comfort in taking risk. It's the kind of comfort that only comes from high self-esteem, right? It's what happens when you can heal past something that's already happened that didn't go in your favor. It's about being gutsy enough to remember what's happened in the past, acknowledge that it could happen in the future, and still take the risk. And when you do that, you open yourself up to opportunities that you just don't have access to otherwise because you didn't have the mindset. As soon as you get the mindset, you'll get access. As soon as you get access, you'll have what you need. Right? You can also use this very deep sense of comfort that you need right now to discern who should be around you and who shouldn't. Because anyone who is making you uncomfortable right now, first of all, I feel sorry for them. But secondly, yeah, that's such a red flag. You don't need that in your life. That sounds so stressful. You don't need that. You don't need that. And, your comfort, it can be disturbed very easily right now. Because after all the hard work you have to do from now until the 14th, solving these family issues out, solving these woundings, at least addressing the woundings, dealing with family, dealing with loved ones, dealing with this mutable kind of chaotic moving around energy. You need this rest. You need to get lost in this rest. You need to find this vibe and stay in it even when the world tries to pull you out of it, because no matter what the world tells you about how great it is on the outside, they're going to get you out there and then they're going to pin you to a wall and pummel you because they don't like you living in your own world. It scares them. Especially when they know that every time you go into your own little world, you come out more successful with more ideas that take you higher and higher into more places. So of course, a big part of their job is to distract you. I've just recently figured this out. One of the easiest ways to get someone to constantly and consistently fail is to distract them. So don't get distracted. Right? Let me fix these cards. I'll be right back. Hi Pisces, welcome to the second part of your reading. I am really sorry it's so late. I got the flu and then I thought I got better. Well, I told myself I was better. And this morning I realized that I think I'm finally getting better, but I thought I was better like a week ago. So that just makes everything worse because then you don't actually take care of yourself the way you should because you're so convinced that you're pushing through. Oh yeah, it ties.
So let's take a look here. First of all, at that Queen of Cups. Queen of Cups, first up, is saying, regardless of what you think should fill that cup or how you think that cup should be filled, that's not your job. Your job is to be extremely receptive, right? We're talking about this very female, very receptive energy. We're talking about you. You are the keepers of that. Very watery, very mysterious. The receptive is so mysterious because we don't really know how it works. We know that being receptive attracts, but we don't know how. You know, when you're talking about yang energy, right? In contrast, well, we know how yang energy works. You go out there and you do something and you get the thing and you hunt the thing and you kill the thing and you eat the thing. But yin energy is such a mystery by its nature. Everything is hidden, everything is in the dark, everything is done without doing. And so you may find as a Pisces that every time you start to get really involved in a doing, that things kind of don't go your way. And that can be really frustrating because once you get into the doing, you get into a great pace, you know, and you're like, this feels really good, you know, I got a lot of direction right now. I'm feeling great. I'm going in a straight line. And then it's like all of a sudden it hits you that you're two fish and you're not just a fish, you're two fish and you're in the water and there are no straight lines. And when the chaos that is mutable water starts to creep back into this direction that you've caught, things may fall apart that you are getting too attached to. And that can be really frustrating because often then Pisceans can feel like when they put too much into something, it doesn't work out. And that's, in a way it's true and in a way it's not. So in a way it's true in that your energy is so strong, right? That whatever you put your energy into, it's going to expand quite a lot, but more than just expand, it's just a lot of energy being directed with your attention, whether it's on a person, a thing, whatever it is. And sometimes you're not, you know, quite cognizant of that because it's your energy. You're not always aware of how strong that energy is because it's yours. You're used to it. But if you do have this feeling, you know, that when you put your attention too much on something, or you want something too badly, or you want someone too badly, it has a tendency not to work out. It's not because your attention is in some way toxic and that you can't, you know, think about things and you can't direct your attention at things. Not at all. It's that your energy is much heavier than people can generally take. So it's not that your energy messed the thing up. It's that the weight of your energy, it couldn't, whatever the thing was, it couldn't take the weight of it. So it's not necessarily negative. It's just another way of showing you and making you aware of how strong you are. Okay, so what's the solution then? So if we look a little bit further down here into the cards, you see that, you know, embracing yourself as you are, being okay with the fact that some directions that you thought you were taking aren't going to go the way you thought. That's okay. Why? Because you have this larger sense of what you're looking for. And this may be quite new to some of you. You know, you may have bounced around a lot up until now, but there is this grounding that's showing up in all mutable signs. There's a maturing overall in the zodiac going on. And for you, you don't really need maturing. You're the end of the zodiac, but you could do with some grounding. And it's showing up beautifully here. Goes more into Leo season, and that just makes sense. But this grounding for you, especially because we have a lot going on with Chiron right now, this grounding for you has a lot to do with not running from those wounds anymore. One of the ways this manifests itself is you finally realizing that someone really, really, really close to you, perhaps even a caretaker, a caregiver, parent, has a cruel streak and has been, you know, and that you were picked out as the sensitive child or the sensitive one at school or the sensitive one amongst your friends. And kind of, you know, your emotions were used as a plaything, there's like this torturous element involved to what you guys have coming up for you. But it's only because you deserve to be free of it. It is very central right now to you. probably because you're not addressing it. And most probably because it's someone that's so close to you that if you were to address it, it would take a lot of guts to address something like that. And once you address it, then there's a whole, can of worms that opens with that. But the cards are saying very concisely, in fact, that that's all an opportunity. All of this is an opportunity to what? To gain what's rightfully yours. So for you to have access to your energy the way you always should have, which therefore will always lead, inshallah, to this dominance in terms of abundance, fertility, beauty, all the things that you are. Okay. But this wound, this 3 of Swords, 5 of Pentacles, this wound, this lack, it's central right now. And it's only central. It's only coming up like this. If you've been wondering, like, what is going on with me? Like, why do I feel like this? It's only central to you right now because it needs to be understood. You can still love the person. You can still choose to be around them. You can still love the job. You can still choose to do it. But your eyes are open to what it has done to you and what it is doing to you. And the past 2 weeks has just been a consistent push of just having your eyes open, having your eyes open. This is what it's always been like. For some of you, there was a little bit of a break where you didn't have this treatment coming at you. And I think you might have forgot and you might have thought, oh, you know what? It's not happening anymore. We don't need to deal with that. What happened before? Forget what happened before. Forget it. It doesn't even matter anymore because it's not happening anymore. So it doesn't matter. Whatever happened in the past, it happened. I'm better now. And then somewhere at the beginning of June or in the last, week and a half, it happened. And you're like, oh, wow. Ow. That really hurt. Wow, that's not healed at all. Wow, I'm walking around with an open wound and I'm bleeding out and I didn't even know it was there. How terrifying is that? You ever see a very realistic depiction in a film of someone getting shot? You know why they're looking at the bullet hole the way they're looking at it in bewilderment? Because they didn't feel the bullet. Because that's how fast it ripped through their body. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you're like, wait, ow, I have a wound? Where's this wound? Because it is stinging, right? Because you thought, I'm only laughing because I can commiserate, relax. You thought that because it's not happening anymore, that there was nothing to heal, that trauma, it went away. Now, when I'm saying it out loud, you can see how ridiculous that sounds. But, in your head, it sounds okay. No, here it is. And if you've been crying about it for a week and a half, well, there it is. And you needed to do that. And there was no way around that. And nobody can hold your hand through that. And nobody can make that go away. And there's no understanding that can be reached from it that someone else can give you. That's yours to feel. Here it is. On Patreon, the first part was up 2 weeks ago. Here it is, right there. The pain is yours to feel, and you have to feel it. And then once you feel it enough, you're going to do that thing that all Pisces do, where they get fed up with their own feelings, with people's feelings. They get so fed up with you get so fed up with feelings that then you turn into this kind of unfeeling daredevil who wants to go and do all the things and take all the risks and fuck it, and we love that. And we love it for you. And the cards are like, go do it. You have the fire, you have the means, you have the energy, you have the will. Do it. If you're wanting to have another baby, if you're almost about to have another baby, if you've already had a baby, you're like, I want another baby. All of that is here. All of that is here. If you want it. If you want it. And that's a big part of dealing with this wound. My gut feeling is, just from looking at the cards like a story, which is what I do. A lot of people have been asking, like, what's your spread? There is no spread. I didn't learn how to read cards from anyone. I did it on a fluke. It was something I had to do for a class, and I did it, and then I could just see like a story, and that's where we've been. But my gut would say that this has something to do with permission. Permission to feel, permission to take your time, permission to fail. Permission to not always succeed, which is very different from permission to fail. Do you understand what I'm saying? Permission to be human, permission to make mistakes, permission to be flawed, permission to be tired, okay? Permission to not have the capacity to say, like, I can't. And what is it behind that permission? What is it that took from you the agency to be able to do that without needing permission. You understand what I'm saying? That's a big part of what you've been dealing with. Even if you don't know you've been dealing with it the past week and a half, if you really stop to think about it, whatever has like really been on your mind and really fucking with you, think about it. It has something to do with agency. A lot of you might be feeling like you told somebody something sensitive, or someone that you trust has a tendency to use things that they know you're sensitive about to punish you with when you don't do what they want, or when you call them on their bullshit. So a lot of you are dealing with it in that way. Maybe they didn't do it for a long time and then they did it. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like there is something in your connection to people that has wounded you, and it's the kind of thing where you've ignored it. And it's the kind of thing where you can't really confront someone about it. You can't really say anything about it. It just is what it is. And you have to find a way to deal with it. And you have to find a way to heal from it. And I suspect that a lot of you probably haven't healed from it, because if there's no resolution possible with the other person, then how can you heal from it? Well, the really cool thing from now until middle of July that you have on your side is that your grounding and your healing has nothing to do with anybody else. It has to do with a very deep understanding of self and of agency, and how no one can take that from you, and that you don't need permission to do anything from anybody. See, because the problem is so unique in that way, you don't need that other person to co-sign this. In fact, it's better if they don't, because you need to completely own this. This has to be your thing that you're doing for you. It doesn't have to be thrown in anybody's face. Nobody needs to know about it. This is the type of thing that changes you on a fundamental level. If you've ever watched my stuff, or if you've ever listened to the podcast and you've thought to yourself like, oh, she's really strong. Like, I wonder where that energy comes from. This is it. This is it right here. It comes from pain. It comes from someone trying to take your agency from you and you refusing to let them do it. Because when you have to fight for it, you realize how to put those lines and those boundaries down. And you realize that no matter what, for any reason whatsoever, guilt, obligation, love, whatever the fuck people can come up with, you never move those lines. You never move those lines for anybody. Those are your boundaries to keep you safe, to keep you happy, to keep you first on your list, which is what you need to do to be good to anybody else in this world. You know, the way I personally like to look at it is, you should be happy that I'm spending this much time on yourself, because it's only benefiting you, because you're getting the best version of me in the world. If I don't do these things for myself, if I don't put myself first, really, it's a detriment to you, because the version of me that you're getting is not A class. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, so in the same way, this healing journey that you're on, it has a lot to do with this agency being placed back into you. So you fell down and, failed. So you didn't get the thing that you wanted. So this thing over here, that thing over here didn't go the way you wanted, and you don't look the way you want over here, and you don't come across the way you want over here. Okay. Some of you don't have permission to do well. Because somebody told you you can't. Some of you don't have permission to let somebody love you because somebody told you that you're unlovable. There's all these things that have been coming up, and it crystallized in some event or other that happened in your life that made you think, I am not allowed to do this. Who put it in my head that I'm not allowed to do this? And the cards are like, as soon as you're done dealing with that, because I'm not allowed in whatever aspect of your life that this is coming up for you, that I'm not allowed is so destructive and so toxic. And let me tell you what, if you want the lesson to really sink in, if you really want to get the most out of this experience, however painful it's been, be grateful for the person who brought this experience to you. Be grateful to that rejection. Be grateful to that person that hurt you. Whatever it is, show them immense gratitude and be gracious with them. First of all, it'll piss them off. It'll make God happy and proud of you. And third, and this is the thing that's just for you, what it does to you as a person when you internally shift every rejection or every, bad thing into something that's meant for your good and for your protection. Sorry about that. What it does is it creates this internal armor against despair, right? So this understanding that you have agency over yourself, it is the key to building your self-esteem. It is the key to being capable. It is the key to going out there and doing things that show yourself that you can do whatever you want. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't, and a big part of that for a lot of you is just having the permission to try things without the fear of failing. Because so many of you are so incredibly talented, and yet you play it really small. Often when I think of Pisces, I think of, that meme, but it's true that a shark will grow 8 inches in a fishbowl and 8 feet, in the ocean. You will adjust to the fishbowl that you're put in. And like today, the Gemini sun is trining Saturn. You can crack that fishbowl open today, if you want. And you will grow to fit whatever next container you put yourself in. But why not just put yourself in the ocean where you belong? Yeah, it's scary and takes a little bravery. But once you know that the world is yours, what does it matter? It's not real anyway. It's just a test. I love you. I'll see you in the extended.